not. All right, so to continue, wait, before I continue, everyone can hear me all right and see my screen?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, great. So the next thing that we tend to recommend is join a community, whether it's a local community or it's an international community. And as I posted out previously, there's quite a lot of tech communities in Jamaica. There's Python Jamaica, Google Developers Group, aka GDG. There's a Flutter group also. And that Flutter group is mainly a WhatsApp channel, but or a WhatsApp group, but it's quite active. And Flutter is for like mobile cross-platform development, and you have a lot of people in here, from beginners to well advanced developers, and of course there's the Facebook Developer Circle, which does event almost every month, and they do hackathon challenges and so forth. In fact, it's basically like self-explanatory Facebook Developers Group. So Facebook actually do provide funding, do provide activities for this local group. And one of their challenges actually now is like a Spark AI, for, which is augmented reality and virtual reality challenge, and there's a big grand prize for like developers who are involved and so forth. And of course there's the Make Better group, which is geared towards making better software solution, hence the name. And this is led by David Bain. We have the previous meeting covers all of these tech communities, and I'm in the process of posting all of those videos and the different community leaders on YouTube. So once that's finished, it will be there for you to watch if you're interested in learning about these different tech communities in Jamaica. But to quickly go over the others, like there's Docker, WordPress, Caribbean, Girls Act, and Women Who Code, and of course Jamaican Developers Group. And generally majority of these groups is geared towards, you know, a particular software solution or just the global tech infrastructure and community. And it's helped to one outsource, you know, learn these technology, and also provide like any means of hackathon projects and networking opportunities with local developers and international developers. So there are times that you might, in some of these groups, someone from California that is well known probably pop up, and you can, you know, do a Q&A session with that individual. So it helps for, you know, networking, outreach, and gaining insight in the tech industry. The third thing is you need to, well, as developers in Jamaica, I do think there's a low number of contribution to open source, comparing to like, of course, other nations and so forth. So this is one thing we strongly tend to recommend. Even from like a student level, just go on, find something that you're interested in, whether it's JavaScript front-end or anything at all, and just contribute to these open source technologies. In fact, I have a friend that literally just, she started out by contributing, just looking over these documentation and doing grammar error, grammar correction on some of these open source documentation, and then she started to learn how to code, learn the infrastructure design and of some of these open source technology just by, you know, contributing to the documentation. And then she started to actually actively involve in writing code for particular different features. So she landed jobs through that open source community. So that's one way of, you know, you gain visibility by just contributing to open source. People who, you know, are watching the project, and most of these open source projects tend to be like international agencies or companies or individuals that, you know, always look out for talent. Hold on. So someone asks, "How can I join the Flutter group?" Um, I'll send. I'll send. It's a. It's a private invite. I will have to get the invite link and send it to you. So what I'll do is after this meeting, I will send out an email to meetup.com, assuming you're from meetup.com, and you will get it through meetup.com in an email. Otherwise, you can go on jamaicans.dev, ask the question, and I'll send. Well, just subscribe and I'll send the invite link through that. I don't have it on me right now, but I'll get it and then send it to you through whichever medium. All right. Yes, I will post the link there. All right. To continue with the contribution to open source, there's opportunities not just for, you know, employment, also for travel. So a story, like one of my story when like university, during university, I started to contribute quite a lot to open source, and it landed me an opportunity to participate in Google Summer of Code. Google Summer of Code, as you probably can tell, is like an annual program where it takes on students to, you know, write open source code for, well, code for open source software solution. And I did a very good job, and that landed me opportunity to travel to Spain, to travel to Japan and other places around the world, meet a lot of developers from Google, from the Prune Foundation, and from different organizations around the world. So that's a means of way you can literally generate a broader global visibility. And of course, these developers who, you know, saw me contributing to these open source tend to reach out to me with additional jobs, additional opportunity, and so forth. So all a part of the building your resume, your portfolio, you need to literally put yourself out there and participate in as much open source hackathon and so forth as possible. And this goes into another statement that I made earlier about hackathons. So there's quite a lot of hackathons in Jamaica. Sadly, most of them tend to gear towards pitch and not necessarily the software solution and the impact of the software solution itself. But that's changing now in 2020, well, from 2019 towards 2020, it has been changing to focus on the actual implementation of the idea and how impactful it is. Mainly, one of those driving factors was COVID-19, because we needed impactful software solution that will, help us to navigate out of this pandemic. So, of course, some of these hackathon photos of hackathons is from previous year, but um, participating hackathon, it has a similar effect as open source, whereby you get to network with basically other developers like-minded, whether new or advanced. You also get to network with potential employers, CEO of companies locally and overseas. You get that, broaden your horizon of people and opportunity. And of course, most of these hackathons tend to showcase, put you up on their website, put you up on like a YouTube video about what the hackathon is about, the winners and so forth. And as you know, with peer marketing, and publicity, when someone sees you and realize that, oh, they recognize that person, is probably on LinkedIn or something, that can attract what job opportunity, or attract some form of consultation, which or opportunity, which will gain a more visibility for you, and also for your friends and the group that you're involved in. So, one thing though, with the hackathon, especially global hackathons, hold on, especially global hackathons, there might be a lot of participants and so forth. So at times, yeah, you might ask yourself, can you win this? Can you participate in this even if you don't have the knowledge, the skill set, and so forth? Um, in truth, that might be true that you may not all have the skills, but at the same time, you will never get anywhere if you don't start somewhere. So everything is a matter of a learning curve. So even if with hackathon or like participate in some challenges and so forth, even if you're not the winner, you're not second place or so forth, the fact that you enter, the fact that you get to try out these different technologies and so forth during the hackathon, um, it will build you, because it's like a learning curve. And hackathon tend to have fast-paced learning curve. You need to build first. You need to draft up the idea, the requirements, design what you're thinking of, and implement as much as. And with all of that, that's like a 2 day event. And there might be someone on your team that is advanced, someone that, is new, and working in a team to build out something. All of that will literally give you a boost to work collaborative with someone, as well as competitive with another, because in the working world, as much as we might hope that it's not competitive, it is a competition to learn, the best job, to get the best, benefits and so forth. And companies are looking for people who can fill particular role, uh, to do a particular job. So they tend to, like, for example, there was a post about I think it was Flutter. They require someone with over 8 years of Flutter experience, and Flutter hasn't been around for more than 5 years, 5 to 6 years, and so the requirement is like futuristic. They want somebody probably 2 years in the future from now. So how do you compete with that? How do you gain visibility? How do you gain like that type of requirements and for someone to look at your resume to say, okay, this person is active, they know what they're doing, they have experience and so forth without a portfolio or so forth. And of course, a resume can take you thus far, because a resume is literally a CV is literally a piece of paper. It doesn't showcase what you've done, the things you've participated in, and so forth. So it's a matter of that foundation, that marketing yourself is building. You should build all of these different, activities, these different knowledge that you've acquired, and showcase in a portfolio, whether on LinkedIn, whether through your blog post, but all of those will help to make someone aware of you. So if an employer goes out search for you, they can easily find like a list of professional activity surrounding a particular technology, a particular job or topic. So for me personally, if you search for Ocean Bailey or B4OSHANY, you will definitely find that, okay, I participated in Google Summer of Code. I've done coding for Google. I've done stuff for a company out of Dubai. I've done quite a lot in the open source area. So it's, for me, it's somewhat easy to land a job because I tend to have that global portfolio already set up where I can say to someone, oh, just go and look on my LinkedIn or GitHub profile. I tend to not to do interviews because of that. I just redirect them to one of those portfolio, and they can see like all of the things that I've done. So build a portfolio around your success, around the lessons that you've learned, around everything that you've done in the area that you want to be known for. It make that transition into any job or in any area easier, especially when landing a job with an overseas client. Someone asks, how good of a coder does one have to be to contribute to open source with learning to code? Honestly, you don't need to be good. The thing is that with open source, the code quality, there's a lot of checks, balances, and security around it. So if you're a beginner, you can, of course, you need to know a bit about the language, a bit about what the program is trying to do and so forth. But you can little go find like a small bug. There are a lot of open source projects out there with simple bug. Like for example, like in HTML with CSS, you to change like the font of the size of a font. There are cases with open source where the look and feel of something does not look right, and all you need to do is change the size from 12 pixel to 10 pixel. In fact, Google Summer of Code, one of the bugs that I because one of the requirements for Google Summer of Code, you must fix a bug for the open source project that you're going to work on. The bug that I fixed was basically changing the look and feel of something. I changed the background from black to uh, to a tint, or should I say shade, and that's literally a simple fix, and that literally got me through. As I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine, she actually just reviewed the documentation for some of these open source projects, and she basically became a contributor until she started to contribute actual code, and all of that helped to, she can really put on her resume even before she started to code that she contributed to open source. And a lot of companies tend to like to see that you're actually active in the open source community. So no, you don't have to be great or so forth. You can be a beginner and just start to contribute. And GitHub is where everyone go and come onto most of this open source software solution. And on top of that, if you want to learn how to code, of course, YouTube is like the second best friend, followed by Google and Stack Overflow. There's Udacity that you can learn how to code Python, do Python, you utilize Python with some data science approach. You have machine learning courses on Udacity, Udemy, and Code Academy. There are a lot of online resources that can get you up and started from a beginner to an advanced software developer. But just saying, one of the things that I do recommend, if you're going into software development, the it it goes back to my earlier point, the foundation. When you're going to software development, yeah, programming is the first step, but as a part of a career building, it's that transition you want to make whereby you start with programming, you get to understand, the basics of coding, basics of language, the fundamental of algorithm and so forth, learn the concept and approaches that you need, which like technique, workflow and so forth. And once you basically reach to a certain level, you start to transition into a developer that can build out stuff, whether front end on your own, back end on your own, or whichever side of the software solution, and then you continue traverse to being a software engineer, so that you can really map out how something is built. So you're not just the one who building it, you're the one who designing the build of the software solution long before you actually start write code. Because one of the question is, with technology, why do we build what we're building? What value that we are providing? How can this basically solve or make our life easier? And then who who are these individuals that our solutions are impacting, and how is it impacting, and how is it scalable, and how much people can it reach? So those are stuff that you want to think about when you basically start to traverse through the your software development career. And as I said, all of these stuff, blogging about it, writing about it, basically can help you basically gain visibility, because people are seeing your journey. People are knowing more about what you're doing, and the things that you're building and how you're improving your skill set, the way you work, and basically the software that you've been utilizing. Because of course, I'm pretty sure many of you probably use a particular software solution, and then you're like, you know, I think I know how to make this better. If it had this feature or just this little tweak, would have run faster, it would have looked better, it would have been more intuitive and so forth. All right. Um, so with students, I kind of covered quite a lot of this already. You know, with open source, with participating in different events and so forth, it will basically help you gain experience in the industry. Um, the hackathons and so forth, as I said before, you get to network with different people that in various different position, from, you know, a developer standpoint to up to CEO standpoint. And of course, all of this will open doors of opportunity for future employment and travel and other things. And of course, it will basically build a resume for you long before you graduate, because that's what happened to me. I participate in a lot of open source technology, got to travel because of some of these open source foundation to Japan, Barcelona, and all of those stuff long before I actually graduated. For professionals, similar to students, of course, you never know if at one of these hackathons you're meeting someone from Facebook that could be a potential employer that is looking for talent in Jamaica or wheresoever. And they, you know, talk to you and they're like, yeah, this guy know what he's doing. So of course, networking is important, and you know, participate in all of these activity will help you cement the knowledge, the skills and techniques that you need in whichever development environment you're in. Um, and it really helps to build that global portfolio. And it's not just from an individual sense, it's also from a company point of view, because there's a particular company that I know of that recently started to do blog posts about how their solutions basically impacting people in Jamaica, or their team is working on a different solution and what each team is working on. Like some people are working on DevOps, some people are improving basically the UI, UX, and so forth. And this company started to go into more SaaS-based project, and they recently landed a contract from an overseas company, because that overseas company saw a blog post about them, what they're doing in SaaS and DevOps, and how they're handling large set of data, and optimizing the speed of delivery for that large set of data. And of course, they're using Amazon AWS, they're EC2 large and so forth. And all of that blog post, all of those blog posts help the company to run various clients. So it basically impact all of us. So I spoke about from an individual perspective. What about collectively? How do we collectively gain visibility as a nation? All right. So as you all know, um, you might know this saying that our lives are measured not by the sum of our intentions, but by the sum of our actions. And this is very reflective or an example of us in Jamaica when it comes on to our culture, because our culture, we are known for like our dance, tourism, reggae music, and amongst other stuff. But are we known for, software development? Are we known for like teaching and finance and banking and so forth? Are we known for these different, parts of economy or industry? So for us, a part of, gaining global visibility is changing the way we think about technology, make it become a part of our culture, whereby we solve our problems, solve majority of these challenges that we are facing. Well, as a community, yes, but also implementing the necessary solution, whether through technology or whether, well, definitely through technology, because it will make our life easier and less usage of manpower. Um, and in Jamaica, um, we have a lot of skills, right? But there's a question, why is that there are so many developers? Out of UA, there's over 1,200 in the students basically graduated with some form of IT background each year. UTech, there's over I think it's 18%. I have the statistics somewhere, but there's over 18% of UTech graduates that literally it's from the computer science and engineering department. And you can just imagine how much for the other universities. And then there's over 10,000 active software developers in digital professionals in Jamaica. And uh, if I remember correctly, there's around between 70 to 80 other tech software shops in Jamaica. So why is it that we're not producing scalable, impactful software solutions? Of course, we have, but at times, majority of the software solutions are, announced, globalized, or showcased to the world that, oh, we built this. And then on top of that, um, there's a culture that surrounds us whereby, like, sadly, I'm not saying that our government or people in power tend to prefer, hiring international party to do build a software solution that we locally can build at a cheaper rate and actually build it better. When they're like, for example, SLB spent quite a large sum of money to build a software solution for students to own their own management system, and it ended up whereby they hire a particular Indian company to build it, and when they got the software solution, it didn't work, so all of that went to waste. And there are a bunch of cases like that in Jamaica, and there are quite a lot of companies in Jamaica that can literally, do the same and more. So where's that disconnect? So in my belief, the disconnect is whereby we haven't embedded the creation of technology or solutions, tech solution in our culture to showcase, to demonstrate that we are talent to easily build out large scale, scalable, well polished software solution in Jamaica. And that's all based on, little people just don't know what's going on in the tech industry. COVID-19, this pandemic, sadly, it took this pandemic to boost our, digital awareness that we need digital transformation, and we also have the talent pool, the companies, and some of the resources to push towards a digital transformation. However, there's still a culture needed to be embedded for us to actually be more visible to other countries when it comes to tech solution. The Jamaica Decides application, funnily, a team member told me that when during election, they had a larger number of traffic. A lot of people were following the Jamaica Decides application for the election and so forth. And they were approached by another Caribbean country to replicate what they did. And of course, this shows that, okay, if we build, more scalable and global impactful solution that can easily be replicated for another nation, another community, another environment, it clearly will gain more traction from other countries, international parties to come and, see like the talent pool that we have in Jamaica. And all of that, stems from having that portfolio, that, putting yourself out there to, people to see what's going on. So definitely building more scalable and global impactful solution. And if you're a beginner, like I said, open source, contributing to open source, learning technology, that's literally the start. Because when you contribute, when you learn this open source, you you grasp and start to understand the techniques, the skills, the different approaches that other people are using to solve different problems. And, you eventually adapt some of those skill set, approach, and so forth, best practices. Hold on. Anyone has any question? I think I saw some in the chat. Hold on. Okay. So there's no other question. So when come on to participating in global tech events, as I mentioned, I went to Barcelona and I met a lot of like engineers there. I met the president of the open source community. I met people who actually wrote and built Python itself, like the core of Python. I got to learn more about, the difference between the various version of Python, how to optimize my Python code. So basically, I learned quite a lot. So at least when I went to this event, I thought I was like the master, but I reached mastery level for Python. And like I said, these guys literally wrote the backend functionality of Python. So I kind of thought that I was extremely good, but I was sort of schooled by some of these guys because, they know the language inside and out. and it's at times they would reach out to me, ask me to, assist with something, or ask me, what am I working on? Do you have time to, do some additional work and so forth? So, participating in global event will gain attraction from others once they see that, one, you're really interested in, digital, as a digital professional, software technology development and so forth. You're willing to learn these tricks, trades and techniques, and you're willing to contribute. And all of this, as I said, can land you into a position to, open doors to work at international agency in like whether Facebook, Google, or so forth, because you already built that foundation and portfolio by participating in some of these hackathons, events, and so forth. Um, so, funnily, this is in Barcelona, and David Bain and I are the only two Jamaicans that actually got into Google Summer of Code. Each year, we basically tried to get more developers from Jamaica to participate in Google Summer of Code. But what I noticed is not a lot of Jamaicans tend to participate in global events. I'm not sure it's because of like the confidence whether we can participate at a high level as these guys, or basically not interested or so forth. But the thing is that these open source communities events and so forth, they're very welcoming. They're willing to, take on a novice, or basically learn from you if you have like a certain technique, skill, and so forth. And then there are things that you can do that you don't know that you can do until you do it, that they would basically love and so forth. Because what I contributed to the Prone, I rebuilt a part of their backend, and that backend as wasn't touched for over 10 years. So when I rebuilt it, I thought it was like a small value that I did. But when they told me how impactful it was, I realized that it's a small amount of coding that I did, a little bit of coding that I did, but the value that I added was very high. So increasing the number of participation in global events. So Jason said, I think it's lack of confidence. All right, we'll touch base on that. Um, so increasing the participation is something that we want to do in hackathon, global hackathons and so forth. To touch on the whole confidence, and this stem from this whole student side. And this is where I'll say, from my perspective, um, I think that's where having a community, having like a mentor, having like someone to show that, okay, to get in, it's actually easier than you think, because a part of lack of confidence is the lack of knowledge, not knowing that something is easy. Because as you probably know, where you are today, the knowledge that you know today, it's easy for you to grasp what you know today because you already got that understanding and so forth. 10, 20 years ago, that might not be easy for you, but and if you reflect back, a part of the whole, it's actually easy is actually knowing the steps to take. knowing the roots, who to talk to, where to gain that knowledge, and how to think creatively to get through a particular process. So of course, yeah, to tackle on confidence, that's where joining a community, having a mentor, I think that's where we can basically help with boosting, confidence, increasing the amount of participation and so forth. Anyone else hasn't thought around or why isn't there more participation in like global tech events or software development? Do you agree with the whole confidence, or there's more that you think about it? You can unmute and mention. Yes, I
Um,
agree.
so for global events, I'm speaking from my personal experience. I don't see a lot of advocacy as it relates to university students coming together as teams to participate in global events like global hackathons.
Okay. Well, I thank you, Mark. All right, so Jason also said imposter syndrome. Oh, I think okay. So yes, imposter syndrome is one. Confidence definitely. Where school come in. All right, let me tell you a quick story. So our school, it goes back to something I said earlier. So you go to school and so forth to learn, right? But I think there's a lot of misconception about what the education system is meant to do. So for me, how I look at it, school, the education system, yes, it's a place that you should learn, but it's more of a place that acts as a reference point of what you should learn and what you should do. So it's like that statement that some of the older folks probably say, like especially people in their late 50s and above would say that when they went to university they had to read for their education. Nowadays I think most students are somewhat spoon fed, even though I'm not telling any lie what the like primary school students are learning a lot more at a higher level than what was taught probably 10 years ago in high school and primary school. um but at the same time there's a lot of spoon feeding, and yeah, culture has changed, all of these stuff changed, but at the same time it goes back to school is a reference point. If you want to learn more, if you want to learn what you're supposed to do in the industry, you would have to get out, get dirty in the field that you're interested in, and learn the things that these industrial professionals are actually doing, using, and so forth. Um, University in Jamaica, yeah, there's internship programs and so forth, but and here and there you might have hackathons, but there's no push to go out and get that global opportunity. So for example, Google Summer of Code, as I said before, just David and I are the only two participants since Google Summer of Code started 17 years ago. Um, Google Summer of Code is supposed to be accredited, meaning once a student basically, participate, they should get some credit. So UE at the time that I was doing it, didn't see it as a accredited activity or internship. And we're talking Google. Um, so one, there's the encouragement of, just do it for doing it, say you can learn in open source and so forth. But there wasn't any backing from the school that, okay, this is an opportunity, this is a roadmap for your career, for your education and so forth. So it's basically having these global opportunities that would gain like a more credibility for yourself, to be intertwined with the education system. Basically, the industry, locally and internationally, should intertwine with the educational system to provide career opportunities, learning opportunities, and visibility for students. I think 2019, 2020 and onwards, the universities are moving towards that. But at the same time, there's quite a lot of back and forth with, the culture. What are we supposed to do? Should we, invest in, developing our own solution? Because of course, like the Google Classroom, with the education system right now, Google Classroom, Blackboard, and so forth, there's these, system that people are purchasing to help with the current crisis and online learning. There are local companies that have built learning management system, can tailor open source learning management system for Jamaica, but it goes back to the culture. Why hasn't that been done? And there's a lot of back and forth about what's supposed to be done. So let me go back in the comments. Yeah, so as Mr. Brown pointed out, yeah, there's at times it's spun from school, and what they're capable of. And this is where, for example, so one of the approach that we're taking at Jamaican Developers, we're actually pulling on students to train them, and let them get experience in open source technology, and also let them basically get experience in actually building software solutions. I think this approach, like an internship approach, will basically help. But to me, it's a matter of the best time to start the internship for students so that they can build their confidence is to start as early as possible, probably like second semester or first year. But you start off with approach, a process to get them into like front end, the simple stuff, the low risk tasks, get them used to the environment, and then you just smoothly introduce them to like backend DevOps or the more technical aspect of the digital realm. So that's something that we think we can go forward with. Yes, Jason, that's definitely true. Um, One, there's quite a lot of people that don't know of this group, and this is why we constantly keep events and like activities. We're actually partnering with Gavin Dennis from Caribbean our Caribbean Security uh, Association group, as well as the Make Better group and the different tech communities, because we want to basically collaborate and collide with these different tech communities and, you know, produce content, activities, and so forth, and, you know, keep it consistent where people know that, oh, there's a space or a community or environment that they can come to get involved in this university, you know, get the students involved. We have a YouTube channel that we actually post events like this. So we have that digital content up there, and we're literally working on building out a lot of SEO and digital marketing approaches, so that when someone literally search for a software developer, like a Python developer, and they're in the Caribbean or close by, they can hit on like a Jamaican that's, you know, doing software development in Python or whichever language or platform. So all of this is geared towards, you know, boosting that visibility, because as I said before, making yourself known, making what you do known, making like the community, the people known for something is a part of what we need to inject in our culture. So definitely that's where we want to go, and it, right here is just a space where we can discuss some of these approaches, ideas of gaining you know, global visibility. Okay, so I was supposed to ask, do you see any Jamaican in this picture? But I kind of went and click, and it actually pointed on David and I. So in this photo, David Bain is right here, and I'm basically the one that's doing the to the world pose. And like I said, this is in Barcelona, and that's literally quite a lot of people there, and we participated in the sprints. We participated in, like, we gave speech about, you know, what Jamaicans are doing with their open source technology. We participated in tutorials, as in we hosted the tutorials in at Barcelona and so forth. So this actually gave quite a lot of highlight, and in fact, David, after we got couple contracts, just by, you know, participating in this global tech event for the Prune Foundation. Funnily, the vice president said to me that, Shane, you have a bright future in technology. So if, like, the vice president of the open source community, and these guys, I the prone community basically is one of those large enterprise application open source software, and for example, FBI, NASA, UTech, and so forth are utilizing their open source technology every single day in their infrastructure. So they get a lot of support from Google and so forth. And imagine, the VP basically said that to me, and yeah, I'm a Jamaican. I was a student at the time, so I don't consider myself like I up as a, you know, developer or engineer, but what's possible for me can easily replicated by any other Jamaican. But of course, is getting people and developers, students through that door to make that first step into gaining these type of global visibility. Some of you may know Joel Dean, that is work is basically the Google Developers Group community leader, and he's actually working at WordPress Automatic. Well, Automatic, which is the owner of WordPress.com, and he's building all the mobile application and some of the web. So there's like Jordan Jones, which basically works at All But One, and they recently released like an open identification SDK to easily verify users and so forth. So there are Jamaicans that are working at like some large corporation internationally. There's actually a guy named Tyrone Wilson that was, I think he was an executive director at IBM for security. I was doing a research on him when, yeah.
Tyrone.
You know Tyrone?
Oh boy, that's funny. Yes, I do. So
Okay.
sorry. Continue.
Oh, there's two Tyrone Wilson that is very well known in tech in Jamaica. I hope you're talking at the right. You're laughing for the right.
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So if you know Tyrone, you know that literally if you do a Google search for him or try to find data about him, it's literally extreme hard. How I knew about him, a friend of a friend knew him, so I had to contact him through that. So he's basically well known in IBM, but yeah, there are some people who are in the position like but don't want the publicity. Security, if you're firstly, if you're in software security, having a digital presence is not necessarily something that you want. So software security is like,
Sure.
yeah, it's
Yes,
there
it's
on
true.
its own. But at the same time, if collectively we need to have like this portfolio as a country that showcase like stuff that we're great at, even in technology, software development, security, and so forth. There are quite a number of companies who actually got hacked in January. I probably cut this out of the video, but DBJ Bank of Jamaica, Development Bank of Jamaica, was one of those companies that got hacked. And the companies that approach or they called for resolving the ransomware, there were two Jamaican companies and around 6 or 7 international companies. One of those international companies was from Australia, and like it got me thinking, if a Jamaican government agency is reaching out to an Australian tech security company, when there are security company specialists and so forth in Jamaica that can easily overcome a ransomware, why are they reaching out that far? So it goes back to visibility, the culture, and it's all about us making local and international parties aware that there's a talent pool in Jamaica. I think I end up touching on portfolio. This is the whole injection of tech in the culture, which I actually touch on. So we're going into like the second part is where I open a discussion type of thing where we talk about some of the stuff that we've noticed, some of the stuff that we also can do to gain global visibility. And if you have any other question, yeah, this is time to ask and free rein to the attendees. So anyone has any comments, thoughts, or so forth about this topic?
Jamaica has had a pool of awesome engineers, designers, developers for a very long time. A matter of fact, it was a Jamaican developer who actually came up with the IBM M-Wave modem from back in the 90s, which most Jamaicans have no clue about. We are talented. We are amazing people. But today we don't really act like it, and I blame the schools. 2 cents.
Oh boy. The schools are one aspect. Right. The
So like you
blame
want me to
can
start call school name? I can call
no, no,
school name.
no. Just I think generally the blame can go around in many different areas. Schools is just one. But the government is another. The culture of the people, it's ourselves is another. The confidence of we're globally competitive is another way. Um, it, there's quite a lot, but as I said, so from your experience, which school would you say can do better, and or would you recommend them to do better?
Northern Caribbean University, NCU, can do better.
Okay.
The way they can do better is by giving their people more exposure and remove the limitations that they put on. I have personally hired over 20 plus people out of NCU's lab directly. Heck, I just cleaned out some a few days ago. The number one problem I find is that people have serious restrictions and no opportunity to grow. So when they do get out into the field, they're like greenhorns. They don't know anything. And you've been in their lab for 4 or 5 years? No way.
Okay. Well, point taken. I think that that also can be reflected on a lot of university in Jamaica. Funnily, I think I should also I think I should exclude UTech. I at times honestly I think UTech students are like computer science students are somewhat on steroids, because you probably noticed that they're always a part of like IEEE, a part of some hackathon and so forth. So that's one of the good things about UTech. I don't know much about NCU and what they're doing with their students, but what I like friends that went to NCU, the type of thing I noticed from NCU students tend to, not just software developers, but generally student body. Um, Majority of NCU students tend to migrate, and it causes a brain drain.
Can I
And
make a point?
go ahead.
Yes, because I'm currently in the IT department at NCU.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the major problem, to be honest, is the lack of investment from the stakeholders in the school.
Ah.
That's funny. I just took Rodney out of your department and I just took Sebastian. Orlando escape.
And to be honest, I think the schools still dwell on the past. They're still dwelling on the past achievements of Imagine way back. Still milking that success and not looking towards the future and making the necessary investment that is needed to succeed. So yeah.
Well, yeah. But honestly, that sort of from a business perspective, that is sort of unavoidable. Right, that's a mindset, not just local companies, but also overseas companies. Because if you're known for something, um, there's going to be a culture that develop that you want to stick with that, and especially with like the people who are in power or can make change, they're used to a particular approach, and to like change all of that. Um, it it really takes someone like innovative with a lot of charisma to actually change the mindset of the school. And then the all of the policies, the rules, regulation, and so forth, basically they would have to go through. So yes, the schools definitely need to change, but I don't see where the change will start internally with them. I see where it's an external party have to come in and make that change for the school. And that's where one, as you pointed out, like stakeholders can come in and make that investment. I'm not sure who spoke earlier about getting students from NCU, but that's one step. But if it's just few companies are doing that, then it might not be like really impactful.
Yeah, and
Uh,
another, yes,
Well,
another problem.
sorry, go ahead, Tafari.
Yeah, the next problem we have here at NCU is that because of the location, in particular, it's very hard for us to say get internships.
so I internship. Let me quickly go over that. So firstly, I personally, I'm going to say this, and this is blunt and might be harsh.
Yeah.
That's actually not an excuse. It's not an excuse. I'm not saying that it's an excuse, but what I'm saying, trying to say is that actually should not be a problem. If it's like for doctors, people who study medical science and so forth, sure, that's definitely a problem, because it's hard to get a job in other fields. But when you talk about software development,
Yeah,
there
remote
are
possibility. Yeah.
exactly, locally and overseas. Google Summer of Code, if like someone at your school could be like a, a proponent for Google Summer of Code, to propose it, to push it, same for, and then the Palisades Foundation as a telco challenge, which is similar to Google Summer of Code, but is focused on Jamaican students taking on internship program to develop open source solution on behalf of whichever open source
Yeah, man. They
foundation.
had yeah, man. They had a couple of visits to the school actually, but then again, it's to find persons because relatively the department is very small, and in the department, the thing with NCU department is that compared to probably other universities, is that you don't really find that much people focusing on software development. Is mostly networking, security, that aspect.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so
hold on. I'm O'Shane, if I may. But the
Oh yeah.
job is about more than just the exposure and the technical skills, right? One of the things that is A1 important is Jamaica has an issue with having a third world mentality stepping into a first world field. And at the end of the day, no matter how you go about it, school, government, whatever, that is up to you as an individual to apply yourself and fix that particular thing. Your attitude, your mannerisms, and how you apply yourself matters. You need to show up on time for meetings. You need to put the time in if you intend on getting the thing. And what's funny is the two schools that you're talking about, my parents worked at those schools. My parents are double PhD professor at NCU and taught at UE and CAS and all of the rest. And I never complained completed one bit of college. I own a company and I have multiple people who work for me. You know why? Because I applied myself. As a Jamaican at 11 years old, I learned to code and applied myself. And right now, I mean, the things that I see coming out, I'm sorry, you can only blame other people so much. You must apply yourself. It's a fact. Okay, it doesn't matter who you are. Freaking what's his name? Zuckerberg is a dropout. Look at the tech trends. A lot of these people are dropouts. What did they do differently? They applied themselves.
Point well received and taken. I do agree with wait, I still don't know who just spoke. Hold on.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the part. Okay, so when you basically take the speaking position, just introduce yourself to just let everyone know who's talking.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Okay. So one thing I should point out, there was a question that was asked about you mentioned Jamaican gaining global visibility by blogging, right? Why not create a centralized website where all of the Jamaican developers can post, or have it in like an extension of JDC? So there's actually, let me actually put this in incognito. So there's Jamaican developers does have a blogging website. There's this where people can wait, I don't think you're seeing that screen. Hold on. Okay, so there's this website that we have, which is a community website that people can like log in, find tech events, tech news, different blog posts, what's going on in Jamaica when it comes on to like tech resources and so forth. There's also like a feeds page that you can just go on and just filter out based on the topic that you're interested in. And there are other different resources on Jamaican developers that you can literally find interesting topics. And as you can see, this is live reload. You just click filter out and so forth. There's also like a jobs page that we have, which will list out different tech jobs available and so forth. But one of the things is that we haven't updated this site for a while because Jamaican developers has been a community and so forth, and not a lot of people actually know about this site actually, and they don't know about also a forum website that we have where you can go ask questions. It's like a Stack Overflow, it's a discourse for server that you can just ask questions, have discussion and so forth. So there's actually some bots that we built out that will just take questions from different resources and will just respond from there. We also have a listing of all of the tech communities, and oh, someone actually asked this. Where can I find the different tech communities? So all of the tech communities, they're listed here. So with the Flutter, I think the link to join the Flutter group is somewhere here as well. So there are resources out there, it's just not being pushed or publicized as much as it should. Even though I definitely talk about, publicity, market yourself, market your company, market this, that, and what's not. This is something that we haven't pushed fully, mainly because our aim for our community website is to make it integratable with everything. It's like supposed to be this one-stop shop for everything tech. So it's integrated with Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, GitHub, meetup.com for events, Caribbean jobs, and so forth, which basically curates all of the data, compile it, build a portfolio for you without you doing anything. So like the stats from LinkedIn, stats from GitHub, Stack Overflow can literally just create that, okay, these are the stuff that you're known for, these are the skills that you have, and so forth, based on your activity on the different platforms. And like when you're applying for a job, employer can see all of those stats and then just easily do acceptance, because they know what you've been working on, and like the things that you're interested in, you get events, blog posts, and so forth about those. But this site is like around 30% complete, even though it looks fancy and so forth. And even though there's a lot of feature already built in, so it's there, and it's in development, but people are still utilizing it to get information about events, jobs, and so forth. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. And also, the guys that made a Jamaica Decides also put up this website, which I contribute to time to time, where the different communities in Jamaica, different organization, job boards, and open source project, and some roadmap for, actually this was a roadmap that I proposed, that you can find about if you want to become um, front-end developer, back-end developer, and it's well detailed. For us, though, there's definitely like an explore page, which basically can showcase you some of the projects that people are working on, some featured developers, some featured upcoming events. As you can see, some recent added jobs, some featured website. I really love Visit Jamaica website. It's good. And some featured projects, like for example, Keys. Keys is a mobile app, real estate app that a Jamaican company built, and trust me, it looks great. And some of the tech shops in Jamaica. So there are different resources that act as a centralized hub for tech-related, resources for Jamaica.
I have a question. Good night, everyone. My name is Deborah Kay. I wanted to ask Ashane regarding mentorship. You mentioned mentorship in a part of the presentation. What does mentorship look like from the Jamaica Developers Group, especially for people like myself who are basically self-teaching coding? So of course, you find your resources online and stuff, and you find your different tools to learn to code. But in terms of this group and the support system that you're trying to build in the community, what does mentorship look like? Because that's something that I and many new developers are looking to get. And of course, we know the time factor in terms of how much time someone can dedicate to you in your journey. But in terms of whether it's finding peers to learn to code with, or leaning on the community from time to time, what does mentorship look like from the Jamaica Developers Group?
Okay, so it's a mixture of everything that you mentioned, community, peer, a mentor. So one of the points that I was trying to make earlier is that we're shifting from a from a community into actual registered company that is investing majority of our time and effort in building out solutions for Jamaica, not just in like the business sector, but also in the educational sector. And we're aiming towards also upscaling and marketing the developers, students and junior developers in Jamaica. So in terms of mentorship, we are heavily invested, even right now, in collaborating with international agencies, local companies and communities to, keep training events, keep hackathon, boot camps and so forth. So, and of course, there's like a consultation thing that we tend to have between 12, like for me, I personally give free consultation between 12 and 2 o'clock. So if like someone has my number, they tend to reach out to me and say, yo, can book you for 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock or something like that. So they can just learn something and I'll just do that. So it's a mixture of each, and as well as, getting into some of the schools and keep some of the training events. Funnily, one of our first training was back in 2019 or 18, and a guy that I knew from Turkey, as in Turkey, the country, he came and he did a 3-hour training with youth students to show them how to use Spring Boot, no, the Java Spring framework, and there was quite a lot of feedback. They understood what he was doing, saw all the different workflow and so forth. Then I'm actually the Docker community leader for Jamaica, so I keep training, in-depth personal training and group training for Docker and DevOps. At times we'll pull on people from Google and from other companies overseas to do keep Flutter event. In fact, we recently published a Flutter speed coding with explanation and so forth from one of the events that we kept. So it's like it will get personalized and detailed as well as a big picture, because learning to code, learning the ins and out is one thing, but understanding the big picture, why would someone become a developer, become an engineer, what are they trying to be, what they're trying to solve, how it's going to make their life easier, other people's life easier, or they will build their career, and or the opportunities that they can gain to earn more income, to work remotely and so forth. So all of that are things that we try to encompass in some of the events, workshop, training and so forth that we keep. And when we reach our capacity, we pull on other communities to take on some of the task. I don't, hopefully that answer your question.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this group basically progresses, because that's something I'm very interested in. I'm learning front-end development, and mentorship, I realize, in the development community is something that's kind of lacking. So I am looking forward to see how that progresses.
All right. Like it will. All right. I would love to say to you, you can take my word for it. It will be like consistent. It will definitely be successful, and it will definitely make an impact in Jamaica. But as you know, life is life. It's full of surprises. But we're working with a team that is dedicated towards that cause, because it's something we realize that it's lacking. For me personally, like some people, like some of my friends tend to say I'm the lucky one. I always get opportunities just right in front of me without doing much. But it's not necessarily that opportunity just ran at my foot. It's a matter of at an early stage, I knew what I wanted. I knew where to go. I knew the technology that I should focus on. And I started to position myself as soon, like I started to learn how to do programming when I went to UWI. That was the first. In fact, I got my first computer in grade 10. That was around 2008. Started programming around, and curious, I was one of those curious ones. So when I got my first computer, I actually was like, what's operating system? Okay, found some operating system. Okay, everyone say Windows is shit. Let me try Linux, and started to play around with Linux, got into that. But I didn't, got into programming until 2011, when I started UWI. Then, like, based on my interest, based on everything, I landed a job without knowing how to program. But that job, I learned on the job, learned quite a lot. Then there was like hackathons, like Digital Jam back in the days and so forth, which I participated in. Then there was Startup Jamaica, which is like a startup accelerator or incubator. I actually went into that, participated in that. I got the training to, how to start a company, how to do this, that, and so forth. All of that I was doing during school and more. So it's like I started to position myself from an early stage. So a part of the journey of becoming great developers, digital professional, is knowing how to position yourself for opportunities, whether near or in the future. And that's something I think collectively we can literally pool the resources and knowledge together to say, okay, from my perspective, these are the paths that I took. These are some stuff that other people can take. And, it's like, for example, scholarship. There's so many scholarship out there, but a lot of people don't know about. So it's all about that, and that's something that it don't take a scientist or astronaut. Anyone can really just put that idea, put that resource out there, but it's a matter of put it in a curated list, that one spot that everyone can look and find. So that's literally what we're doing and more.
Okay, got it.
So, any advice for actually starting a tech software business in Jamaica? Okay, so even though I did mention that I went through the process, I actually don't remember majority of what I learned back in 2013 during Startup Jamaica, but going through the process now, I'll say to you, there's a lot of challenges that you will face, and well, all right, I'll skip over the determination that you just continue to push forward, continue to be determined, focused on what you need to do. But when you come on to starting a business, starting a company, you need to look at 5 main things. Okay, um, your value proposition. This is from the business model canvas. The value proposition, what value you're trying to add, who you're trying to, what problem you're trying to solve, and the pains that you're trying to ease. How much people you're trying to solve this problem for, and who are these type of people. It's a matter of knowing yourself, identify what you're doing, what the company is doing, what it's about, the audience, and how people will gravitate towards it. In the process of starting, before you start, you need to identify those and test the market before you start. Find people who you know with this problem, understand if they really desire to have this problem solved, because there's a difference between creating innovative new solution versus like creating a, a solution for a pain or a problem. So if you're creating a solution for a pain or a problem, you need the backing of people, companies, and so forth for you to grow. With innovative new solution that is not necessarily solving a problem, you will need basically investors that actually see the long-term potential of the solution. So identify the value, identify the customers, and how the company will survive. Even on just seed funding. Once you go into the starting your business, yeah, you can, in Jamaica, there's certain stuff you should know. Like one, there's a 33% company tax that you should pay. The type of company that you're opening, there might be some restriction, but mainly go with a limited liability company. The process can get tedious, and there might be a lot of back and forth because of all of the regulations. And then, like, if you with the address of a company, that might be a problem. So the registration process might be tedious, but there are companies out there and so forth that you can find, go to, that can ease that pain. But there are like 3 to 5 different forms that you need to fill out. There's an online resource that you can read to know what to do when it comes to business registration. In terms of a tech company, if you're a software shop, building new solution or SaaS-based solution, while building that solution, you might end up in the need for money, funding, and so forth. Yes, you can get investors. Yes, you can get some seed funding by raising capital through family, friends, or your personal savings. But at the same time, you need to. Well, a friend of mine would say this. He would recommend that you do consultation, like do, like I said, go market yourself, get some people aware of you, approach others to do some consultation for them to generate some income, so that you can like my employer would say, buy diapers in the interims of doing other stuff, because you have people to pay, and expenses to pay. So definitely get something that will generate some income for you through consultation or events or whatsoever, while building out your software solution. But definitely you need to put your name out there as a company, and even as a person, for people to identify what you're building, what you're doing, the services that you're doing. So digital marketing and being involved in the tech community is a crucial point, because one of the best means of getting work or opportunity is through referrals. People recommend you. So the people, customers or whatever, they will be your marketers, instead of you being that marketer, and it will generate more value-based project, which you can basically charge at a higher rate, and it will be your income while you're building out whichever internal solution that your company is proposing. Hopefully that helped. Advice or for breaking into international market, I'm looking to become a member of JA Dev Group, as I'm interested in mentoring in the future when I'm confident in my skills. Is there a Discord? Okay, so there's actually a Discord server and a Slack server, but we actually switch over to a Telegram chat and a group. Why? Most Jamaicans that I've met and most of the people in the group and in other tech communities, they tend to prefer WhatsApp or Telegram. So because of that, we do utilize Slack, and our Slack channel is connected to all of our actual software. So Slack tends to be our centralized communication hub, but anything you send to Slack gets sent to like Telegram, gets sent to Discourse, or anything that is sent to one of these other channels. Even our website is sent to Slack, and then Slack distributed to the different systems. So we actually have a integrated, distributed like channel system going on. So no matter which channel you join, you'll be updated and can communicate with someone else. But we do not have a WhatsApp group, mainly because the WhatsApp is closed, so you don't have APIs or bots and so forth to use with WhatsApp unless you're doing what you have a WhatsApp business group. Breaking in the international market, it varies because you have, of course, SaaS-based projects. It depends on what you're doing. So if you're a consultancy, people are not going to know, companies and people are not going to know you. So it's definitely participate in these, tech, as a company, participate in these tech events and activities and so forth, even encouraging and sending some of your employees there to be representative of the company. Say if I work for you, send Oshin and say Oshin is a part of your company, and he say does a great job at the tech company. He can return handout tech event, he can return a handout business card when he meets someone or so forth. When it's SaaS based, that's all based on digital marketing and trying to generate as much awareness as possible. And it's great if you do demo videos, like high level demo videos, so people can see what they're going to buy into. And of course, blog posts and so forth for the technology. Anyone else has any comments on breaking into the international market?
So my advice on that, it might sound very simple, but the truth is just do it. One of the things O'Shane was emphasizing earlier on is that we don't think we can do certain things, and never really know until you take a stab at it, and it works. I've never gone anywhere and seen Jamaicans not succeed at something that we seriously step out to do. And by the way, expect to face challenges. You're not necessarily going to get it right the first time, but if you keep at it, you will definitely succeed. Many people don't know that Bill Gates failed 5 times until he got to where he is. 5.
Okay. Thank you, Brown. So there's another question. As far as the business aspect is concerned, I think this group would be a good place to seek investors for Jamaican tech startup. Well, so I know where that comment is going. So let me tell you. the end product for this group is to become a digital accelerator for digital professionals and tech startups. So one of our initial goal is to basically start to do quarterly. Well, I want it monthly, but I know that we don't have the capacity right now. But it's like a monthly demo day where we basically get people to showcase some of the stuff that they've built, whether it's a company, whether it's an individual student, and this is like for like that product show. It's like, imagine replicating. Okay, there's two events actually. One that I want to keep monthly or quarterly, and the other one is annual event. But all of those are geared towards, like, you know what CES is, consumer electronics show, something like CES but tailored for Jamaica, tailored for like the products, the software, the solution that we're building. And it, one, help to showcase the stuff that we're building, two, showcase like the different developers, tech companies and so forth, and three, it basically pulls in audience and potential investors. So that's something that we're aiming to launch next month. So that would help to create that space where investors or people who are interested in, to go to and build. So I started to laugh because one of the things that we actually end up building, little, we have a lot of software that we build, stop, and waiting on something else so that we can launch. So we actually built out a software called a crowdfunding platform called We Support, and this is where we're going to put like tech project, tech startups, tech things related to tech that people can come and help fund, support, and so forth. We're also aiming to put another feature. By next week, we're going to launch this, by the way. Another feature whereby we have open idea, where people can like have an idea, but they don't necessarily have the skills or knowledge to do it. They can just put it out. Oh, we can probably put this, says it's X amount of people vote on it, and then like people are saying, yeah, they would invest in it and so forth. We can get a company or someone to like take on that project and use this platform to help fund that project, so that, it can. And if you think about it, a lot of these government solutions, they don't go out in public. We have talents to build it and so forth, but at times the government isn't willing to pay for a software solution. So this is another approach to solve these ideas that we have, that we can just fund and push it to the public. So, and to go back to the old mentorship thing, we are also going to actually launch like a learning management system similar to Udemy. We're actually going to publish courses and videos and so forth that you can learn different technology from Jamaicans. And majority of it will be open and free for Jamaicans, and then sold on Udemy for additional income. So those are two things that we are actually aiming to launch. Well, three things that we're aiming to launch between this month and next. So yeah, there's quite a lot. If we actually reached the 8 o'clock mark, as a matter of fact, we're over it. Before we end, if you have any question, you can go to community.jamaicans.dev and ask the question there. as well as you can find the link to the Slack group and the Telegram group on the site. A matter of fact, I'll send it in meetup.com after this event as well. So I post it in different places. Hopefully you see it in one of those avenues. So if you go on, is there a Telegram group? This actually lists out all of the different resources that you can find, and there's a related discussion about the different tech groups. So if you go to community.jamaicans.dev, you should see some of those answer. Apart from that, anyone before I end, anyone else have anything to say before we wrap up?
I think a bunch of people are exchanging contacts. So give me a minute there.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Good job.
Okay, so there's a question, where are these meeting recorded? All right, so as you know, I'm recording this through Zoom. We have a YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel which we haven't marketed as yet, because we're trying to build out as much content before we push. So we have a YouTube channel that we post the videos and recording on. So like some of the recording, as you can see, we had something about quality assurance. Why would companies pay for software testing? Should it be a part of the invoice? Same as software security. We did everything you need to know about Git, because it's one of those tools that every developer should know. And there's stuff about Flutter and so forth. So all of the recording will be on our YouTube channel. I should post the link I will post the link on meetup.com, on the forum, and on our website that you can see as well. All right. I think any advice on getting your open source project used by other developers? The advice goes back to publicity. Just let people know, tweet about it, blog about it, go to events and, mention it, because it all goes back to awareness. People do not know you, what you've done, and the purpose of the software and what you've built and the purpose of it. So building that awareness is one. And secondly, if you're building open source technology, please document your work and provide examples or demos so they can see it in action. Seeing is believing at times. So
I cannot stress that with you enough. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, write it down. Give examples. Explain what you're thinking.
So yeah. So I guess that's it for now. So when come on to the next meeting, next set of things that we're doing. All right, our next meeting when come on to Jamaican Developers itself, it's on I think October 27th. That's supposed to be we keep events every second Tuesday and fourth Tuesday. The second and fourth Tuesday tend to be career and about demo day. In between the month, we might keep training like Docker. Docker tend to be the third Saturday. there's other communities like the WordPress community that keeps event on every second Thursday, and all of this information is also on the community dot Jamaicans.dev forum. Everything else, I'll basically post it on meetup.com so you guys can see it. Otherwise, from that, you can reach out to me at O'Shane at Jamaicans.dev. And I'll just provide information where necessary. So with that said, I guess I'll give you guys some time to take that email. So with that said, that's it for me and Jamaican Developers Group. So thank you guys for coming. If you have any comments on how we can improve this type of, session meetups and so forth, you have 5 minutes to just let me know. Okay.
Mr. O'Shane,
Yes.
keep up the talks.
Wait, can you repeat? Keep up the talks? That's what you said?
Yes, sir. Keep it going.
As in continue to talk right now?
No.
Oh, God.
I mean, keep up your group.
No.
I have not done one of these in almost 12 years. So it's refreshing to find a Jamaican one.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. And if you want to, talk at one of the events, we are open to have speakers to come in. Oh, lastly, speaking of which, so I think someone asked about AI. I do apologize about that, and I don't remember the question fully, but anyone that's interested in AI, we are actually aiming to spin off a AI community, AI and AI. I don't remember the full name of the group. Oh, Machine Learning and AI meetup group for Jamaica, and we also aiming to spin off a blockchain meetup group for Jamaica as well. So to train people to get like a global understanding. Well, Jamaican to utilize more AI, blockchain, and machine learning and so forth. So the first meeting for those are scheduled sometime in October as well. We are in the process of selecting the community leader for both of those groups. So you might over time see that more and more tech groups are just spinning up here, there, and everywhere. So hopefully you could attend one of those tech groups, and of course Jamaican developers will be that centralized space where all of them just collide and collaborate to build something together, because of course websites, security groups, and mobile application groups, all of those can collide together to create an infrastructure of web mobile security. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. So take care, everyone. Hope you enjoy. Hope this was insightful for everyone. And I'll post when the videos are available on Meetup and the community forum. So for now, take care, as I said. Enjoy the rest of the evening and tomorrow and the rest of the month, and stay COVID free. Goodbye.
Good day, sir.